everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Dylan Fearon, and I'll be your host for tonight. Joining me are two very intelligent Quinnipiac sports analysts, Reagan Martin and Connor Fortier. How are you guys tonight?
Not doing bad, Dylan. How about yourself?
Doing
Pretty good, thanks. Let's start off with the field hockey team, guys. Becca Maine's squad is now 3-6 after beating Hofstra at home 4-2 and coming up short at Maine 4-1 over the weekend. Conference play is just a week and a half away. Are you guys any bit concerned about the early season struggles? Connor, we'll go to you first.
No, I don't think so. This is a team that was 7-5 last year in their non-conference schedule, and this is obviously, we know last year the field hockey team was so good, and that was with with Jess Rusin on the team. So I wouldn't put too much concern on that. I think this is still a team that was picked #1 to win the MAC this season. Even that's probably because with Danielle Allen and Meg Conboy, I think those two up top are enough to really not dominate the MAC actually, but kind of, still carry the winning tradition here for the MAC.
I have to agree with Connor. Quinnipiac's ranked number 4, and they have a 3-6 record, and the 2 and 3 spots have a 4 and 5 record, so each game's going to be up in the air.
And this is a team that lost to Maine last year in their non-conference schedule too, so people might see that as a glaring issue from this past weekend, but it shouldn't be because they've had a tough non-conference schedule with Penn State, BC, Lafayette, who gave BC a good run in that Long Strife Classic.
But they're playing teams that also have some poor records and have played pretty poorly in their non-conference. You talked about Lafayette; they're 4-6. Maine's 3-6, and UMass Lowell's 4-5. Yeah, they played some tough teams like Penn State, but they played some low average teams, don't you think?
I mean, I wouldn't say below average. Yes, they are not capable of that, but you're also looking at those teams' non-conference schedule as well. You could say teams in the MAC right now are saying, well, Quinnipiac's below average this year, when in my opinion, Quinnipiac's not exactly a below average field hockey team because they've had a pretty tough non-conference schedule.
You have to remember how young they are, and it is, it's been a tough schedule. So the fact that they're this young, they're only going to get better, and they're doing great, I think.
Connor, what about the offense? They struggled really in the past few games. They only averaged 1.6 goals per game. Isn't that a concern heading into conference play?
No, I wouldn't exactly think so because I don't think the MAC conference is particularly strong for field hockey. I really think that their out-of-conference schedule is where they want to test themselves, and I think that's where head coach Becca Main really wanted to do when she was making the schedule in the offseason. She wanted to test herself, and that's why we see a Penn State, a BC on here as well. She really wanted to test her young team, and I think they've done a pretty good job coming up to the task. No, it's not exactly what we thought it was going to be because they were so dominant last year, but I think that's just everyone's mindset on campus when they think of how good this team was last year.
Reagan, any concern with the home record? They're 1-4. They should be playing pretty well at Hampton, don't you think?
Again, it's been a hard schedule so far, and I think we'll see that improve as the season goes on.
And also the home record's always a testament to how good this team is because the turf here at Quinnipiac is not exactly the best turf. It's a real old-fashioned style AstroTurf, and the ball travels very, very quickly compared to the newer style turf. So it's a very daunting task. Even though they are home, you think they have the home field advantage. It's a very daunting task playing on that turf field.
Exactly.
Great point. Let's keep moving on. Danielle Allen and Meg Conboy have been huge for this team, and at this point you can basically count on them game in and game out. But who else has to step up besides Allen and Conboy for this field hockey team to be successful, especially heading into MAC play in 10 days?
For me, it's Megan McCall, and that's because she had 2 goals in the game against Holy Cross, and she's a junior, but since then she really hasn't put anything on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Megan McCullough is a good pick, but I'm going to go with Michelle Federico. She was last week's 2013 All-MAC Rookie of the Week. That's the first time ever that the Quinnipiac Bobcats have had a Rookie of the Week in the MAC. So I think she's the one to really harp on for the rest of the year. She was a 2013, it's a big NFHCA, it's a big acronym, but NFHCA All-American last year. She's from Cheshire, Connecticut. She's right down the road. This is a girl who's very comfortable, and she's showing it now, getting closer to her strides.
Connor, what about Leah Dietrich, the sophomore, second on the team with 7 points this year? Does she have to really step up, or can you count on her game in and game out?
I think Leah Dietrich has done a pretty good job so far this year. I think she has 5 points so far in the season. Don't quote me on that, but during my prep, I saw that's what she was, coming in at. And she's from Germany. She was a pretty big recruit coming into this team last year, and we saw her kind of play a defensive role. But now, so far this year, I think head coach Becca Main has become a lot more comfortable with her, and she's been stepping up in the game. So I don't think she needs to step up more. I think it's just that their teams are focusing on Danielle Allen, and then they look down, they see either Dietrich or McCullough. So those are the 3 girls that they're really trying to harp on, and I think that's where Michelle Federico can really come up and shine.
Now, see, I think Dietrich has done a great job because she just scored the goal against Hofstra, and she was also the assist for Riley's goal and the only goal against Maine.
Well, what about Savannah Riley? You just mentioned her, Reagan. She's 4th on the team at points with 5. Is she someone that you can see stepping up? She is a junior.
I think she has definitely stepped up, especially from the beginning of the season. She had the only goal against Maine, which is a huge thing for them. So I think she's getting better too.
Yeah, but if you're saying stepping up, Dylan, if she's fifth on the team in points, I mean, she's kind of doing a job so far this year. We saw Riley coming into the season as secondary scoring, and that's kind of what she's placed into. It was exactly what we thought.
Right. So can you, since she's playing well, can you count on her heading into MAC play?
I think you can definitely count on her. She's been there, obviously, to be able to score goals. But the question was, who do you think could step up? And I obviously, Riley, I think, is playing it as a role of the team. I think Michelle Federico can step up because no one's seen really how she's played before in the MAC.
Their next game is in Rhode Island. The team heads to Providence on Sunday. What do they have to do to leave RI with a W?
I mean, I personally think it's going to be a tough game. Providence is 7-3 overall. They have a tough conference. But I think to win, they're going to have to bring balls from the back to the front very methodically and slowly. Like I said before, teams are going, when they're doing their recruiting and scouting on them, they're going to look at Daniel Allen being that number one figurehead as far as the scoring. So I think balls are going to have to come from the back, and that can start with Osana to Dietrichs, and then that midfield is where it's very, very important. And Dana Barlow, she's shown as a freshman from South Africa that she can really facilitate the ball. So it's all kind of about getting balls up to Daniel Allen and not focusing on Daniel Allen kind of taking the ball up by herself and trying to do everything like Jess Russo was able to do last year.
Reagan, what does this team have to do to win? Because they're playing a Providence team that's 3-1 at home and is riding a 4-game winning streak.
I think the offense really has to step it up. I mean, Quinnipiac's been so good back there, but I mean, you need goals to win a game, obviously. So they have to really pick up the offense. And Providence only had 3 losses, and they were against top 30 teams. So, I mean, it's going to be a hard game.
And also Angie King, too. She's been great in that back line, kind of stepping up. Angie King, Leah Dietrichs, them stepping up to the middle of the field and kind of playing with Barlow to get those balls to Allen. That could be how they beat this Providence team. But like we said, Providence is a very deep and very good team. It should only be a good test for them before the MAC starts.
Can we hear a small prediction?
I'm going to say it's going to be a pretty tight game. I'm going to say Providence is going to win 3-1.
Reagan, what about you?
I think Providence is definitely going to be, I say, maybe 5-1 almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, guys, well, thank you. Thank you for the insight. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, I'm going to sit down with the head coach of the women's rugby team, Becky Carlson. Don't go anywhere.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
And we have a back to his Hollywood.
This is my mom. Make it sit here and back.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
And we have a back to his Hollywood.
This is my mom. Make it sit here and back.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm sitting down with head coach of the women's rugby team, Becky Carlson. Coach, how are you tonight?
I'm fantastic. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Quinnipiac and 7 other teams have formed to create the National Collegiate Women's Varsity Rugby Association. How big is this for women's rugby, and why?
I'll tell you what, it's a very big deal. We've been waiting for an organization like this for a very long time for women's rugby as an NCAA emerging sport, and with the addition of these other teams, as you know, Army came on, Brown came on, and Harvard came on. I mean, it only looks for further expansion for us, and we're well on our way to 40 teams, which will get us an NCAA championship status fairly soon.
How long of a process was it to create an association of 8 teams like this?
It's an interesting question because Quinnipiac has definitely been a leader in that, and Jack McDonald, the athletic director, took this on this year to try and get all the athletic directors on the same page, and they have weekly and monthly conference calls to be able to form this association. So it's taken a good year or so for us to put this together.
Let's move from the association to the team itself,
Sure.
your team.
Yes.
Natalie Costco specifically has been
Yes.
great for her first year. She's been great this year as well. Nothing different. She leads the team in tries and assists.
Sure.
What about her game makes her seem unstoppable?
You've seen her play. I mean, she's absolutely 100% one of the most explosive players that I've ever coached. And you probably already know this, but Rugby Magazine has dubbed her as not one of the top 5 college players in the country, but in the world. One of the top 5 players to watch. So I'm telling people, if you don't get to see her junior and senior year play in Bobcat blue and gold, you'll be seeing her wearing red, white, and blue when she goes to the Olympics in 2016.
She had a great game against Norwich, in which Quinnipiac fell just short, 45-38.
Right.
Norwich was going with the 1-2 and the C ball. Why was that such a problem for you guys?
Again, Norwich, we had practiced, their style of play is more so to pass it out to their backs and then crash the ball to the inside, and they just put 2 big players right in the middle of the field, and with our tackling, we were too high. We were unable to stop that. By the time we figured out their game plan, it was too little too late. As you know, we were 1 try short.
Right. And now you have the off week this weekend, and you head to Provo to play BYU. What problems do the Cougars create for you guys, and how can you leave with a W?
What's great about it is, 25% of the rugby playing population is in the Northeast. So many people in Rugby Magazine and all the other media outlets write about Northeast rugby, but they don't write too much about West Coast rugby because they don't know a whole lot about it. BYU remains idle until probably the middle of October usually. So this is basically their first game, and they always manage to come in around the top 5 in the United States polls. So it means that they're a tough team. It means they're a good team. I know that they're fast. I know they play quick ball just like Norwich, but it'll be an interesting matchup for us.
Aside from them, what other teams later in the schedule are going to give you guys problems and are key games to watch?
I don't foresee teams giving us problems. I foresee there to be some competitive games. Certainly, we have a lot of other varsity teams on the schedule. Westchester is always one of our rivals, but Navy's the big one. Navy took us out of the playoffs last year, and I think our student athletes right now are hungry to get back at them for that. So they're near the end of our schedule.
How far can your team go this season?
All the way, 100%.
Why?
Well, Norwich is actually one of our biggest competition, which you saw that game, and the only place we'll see them is the national championship, and we did fairly well against them. And I think that we have, with getting 5 or 6 more games under our belt, we should be definitely ready for them then.
Great, Coach. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We're going to take our final break of the night, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit men's ice hockey and the ECAC preseason poll. Don't go anywhere.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
And we have a
Back to his Hollywood.
This is my mom.
Making a sit here and back.
Wake up, Quinnipiac. It's the morning after. Hey! Come on, guys. It's time for TMA. Let's go. What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
And we have a
Back to his Hollywood days.
This is my mom.
Make a decision and fast.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The ECAC hockey coaches preseason poll came out last Tuesday, and the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team was selected to finish 5th. Colgate is the predicted winner behind Union, Cornell, Yale, and then the Bobcats. Guys, what are your overall thoughts on the poll? Is it a fair prediction? Reagan, we'll go to you first.
I think it's a fair prediction. Colgate, I feel, definitely is going to be the #1, and Union's going to be right behind them after just, winning the title last year. They'll be right up there. But when it comes down to Cornell, Yale, and Quinnipiac, I feel like they could be anywhere. The games will be up in the air for them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with the point that Cornell, Quinnipiac, and Yale will be really close all season, but I think it's a little unfair for the fact that Quinnipiac's 5th. I think Quinnipiac should jump up to the 3rd spot. Colgate obviously is the #1 team in the ECAC. It was a bit of a shock when they beat the Bobcats last year in the ECAC semifinals, but this is a team with Charlie Finn, the returning goaltender, who was stellar in those ECAC playoffs, and then the Spinks, Taylor and Tyson. These are 2 guys that absolutely slaughtered the Bobcats last year, and especially in that playoff with, I think, was Tyson Spink. Tyson Spink scoring the overtime goal, so to win the ECAC semifinals and go on to face Union. So I agree with the fact that Colgate is #1, Union #2, but Cornell and Yale, they're so close along with Quinnipiac, and I think Cornell, they relied so much on Andy Isles, and now that Andy Isles isn't there anymore, he was just a freak of nature, and they really relied on him a lot of games, and losing him, I know they still have Joakim Ryan, who's a stellar defenseman, but I don't really see those 3 teams really combating with the Bobcats.
Well, you guys mentioned how close it is in the poll. In terms of the 3, 4, and 5 spots, they're only separated by 8 points. Can QU climb up to that 3 spot, maybe even the 2? Connor?
Well, when it comes back to Quinnipiac, you have to remember that they're so small. They're not as big as, let's say, Colgate, who, 11 players are over 6 feet tall. They're just a small team, and it's going to be, when it comes to physical, it's going to be hard for them to overcome that.
And this is a team we've seen be out-muscled. It happened in the NCAA playoffs this year with Providence. Providence is a close game with them in the regular season, and then once they get to the playoffs, especially the NCAA tournament, things are a little more ramped up, the emotions a little higher, and that's when physicality comes out. And the Bobcats really haven't been able to focus on that, really. They do have a couple physical players. You have Davon Taves and Connor Clifton in the back end who really do like to lay down the hits, but as far as their forward, they can tend to get out-muscled and outmatched, where I think is really a problem in the postseason. But in the regular season, we've seen that this team can really strive in the fact that they might be small, they might be a little light, they're also, but they also have the playmaking ability as well.
They're small and they're light. They're also very young. Matt Pekka is the lone senior forward. How much pressure is there on him in terms of scoring and on being an on the ice leader heading into the season?
I have to say there's actually not much pressure for him for scoring. He is the senior, but being the senior, you're going to be a leader. He's going to be the playmaker of the team. He's going to be setting up his other teammates with assists. And
why is there no pressure on him to score?
Because he's a playmaker. You can't have one person scoring all the games. He will be. I feel like he will, score some goals, but he'll really be the guy with the assists.
He is a playmaker, yes, but I think there's so much pressure on this kid to perform this year. This is a team that's relied on their senior leadership last year with the Jones twins and Jordan Samuels-Thomas. People kind of look to those core three to score a big goal. Even Corey Hibbler, he was always there for those gutsy goals. He had a good goal against Clarkson for the go-ahead goal last year in a very tight matchup here in Hamden. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Matt Pekka, especially with if his line mates are going to be very young. People are going to be looking for Pekka to really create those opportunities for his line mates, whoever they may be.
Reagan, who can you rely on to score besides Matt Pekka and Sam Annis?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. You go first.
I mean, I think you could look at Tanner McMaster. He's a big recruit coming in. This is the kid that decommitted from BC to come to Quinnipiac. I think a lot of people are really looking for him to come in. The Renouf twins as well, being very talented, but like I said, the Renouf twins very small. Don't really know exactly who they're going to be lined up and matched up with, but it kind of depends. We can't really make a prediction with that, Dylan, until we see the lines, because it's all based on lines. This is a team last year. We saw Quinville and the Joneses, and we're like, that could be a dominant line. Quinville leaves, Annis comes up. We're like, oh, we have to second question this now, and all of a sudden Annis goes on and wins Rookie of the Year on the national stage. So we have to see really what the lines are going to be like.
Back to Pekka, he had 38 points last season. What do we need to expect from him if this team's going to be very successful this season? Are we talking 50 points?
I think 50 points are a little overboard. I think this is a team that they don't want to be too top-heavy in scoring, because I think head coach Rand Pecknold is a very smart man and a very smart coach, and he realized when you're top-heavy in scoring, it can really come back to bite you later on, as we saw in the Providence game. At that point, everyone was just looking for the Joneses to score, or JST to score, or Corey Hibbler to score. Once you're that top-heavy in scoring, that's when you rely on it too much. I would be happy if Pekka got somewhere around 40 points just like he was last year, and I think Sam Annis could step up a lot more in his role this year.
It's interesting, guys, because last year this team was young defensively and very experienced on the offensive side, where now it's kind of switched. Can we expect a lot of games, 1-0, 2-1, games where Garteg's going to have to stand on his head?
I think so, yeah. I think there'll be close games. The defense will really step up, but it's the scoring that's really going to get them, and that's going to keep the games only like one game away or one goal away and stuff.
Yeah, I think the game's going to be very tight this year. This is a Bobcats team where we're so used to kind of going around flying and scoring goals at their will almost. We see them go periods where they're so dry, and then the next period they'll hang a 5 spot on the team. But I think it's going to be a lot more tight this year. Davon Taves, a draft pick of the Islanders this past summer. Connor Clifton, good returning talent on the defensive back end. And Michael Gartig has another year under his belt. Last year, Gartig was felt kind of under a little bit of a pressure coming off an amazing performance by Eric Hartzell, leading him all the way to the NCAA tournament championship. And now Gartig kind of loses that pressure just a little bit more, a little more comfortable in his role. I think that's really going to make these teams a lot closer.
I feel like we'll really see that in scoring. The size really does matter, because in front of the net, size does matter in front of the net. And we'll really see that affecting them.
Yeah, and that's something we saw last year kind of affect them. They weren't able to clear pucks and bodies out in front of the net. Go back to that semifinal game winner in overtime in the ECAC playoffs. I go back to that so much because that was kind of just like a big turning point in that season as far as setting up for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Connor, you mentioned earlier about Sam Annis. Annis was the best freshman in the country last year. Can he have the same year as last year, or are we going to see a sophomore slump?
I personally think we're going to see a slump. I mean, Annis, yes, unbelievable natural talent. He can always choose to shoot the puck high, and usually fares well for him. But this is a kid last year who was able to play with the Jones twins, Connor and Kellen. We talk about him a lot being unbelievable playmakers. And like I said, you have to kind of see who he's going to be paired up with this upcoming season. But I think he will see a little bit of a slump. He's a very good natural talent, like I said. But what we saw last year with him playing on different lines, nothing really connected. Like the way him and the Jones twins connected. So I certainly see a little bit of a slump here for Annis this year.
I have to disagree with you, Connor.
All right.
I feel like he actually was so consistent last year, which you don't see in freshmen usually. You see highs and lows, but he was so consistent last year. He didn't go more than 2 games without scoring a goal or an assist, which is so rare for a freshman. I feel like he'll be consistent this year too.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, he's playing with very consistent teammates in the Joneses. I'm going to bring him up a bunch because they were a huge catalyst to him being so good last year. So when you play with a consistent line like that, and that line didn't get touched all season. You know, there was those couple weeks, 1 or 2 games at the beginning of the season where, like I said, Peter Quenville was with the Joneses, and then after that it was Annis and the Joneses for the rest of the season. So if he gets bounced around, I'm going to be interested to see if I can test that consistency. But so far, if he's staying on the same line, I can see where that consistency come into play.
Reagan, he led the team in points with 43 and goals with 22. Are you saying he can do that again and more?
I think so. I think this is actually going to be his year. He was so consistent last year as a freshman, and being a freshman, like you're new to the league, you don't know what to expect.
He was still the best freshman in the country.
I know, and the fact that he was that good and a freshman, I think we can only see more from him.
See, I can understand your argument there of saying, well, now he's kind of by himself and he can come into his own and play a lot better. But at the same time, I think he was just a freshman and relied on his line mates a lot, and which I can see going down this year. Right now, I think he's going to have to learn into a role of sophomore year of being the #1 guy on a line possibly. And if he does get matched up with Pekka, maybe that won't happen. But I presumably think he'll be on a 1 or 2 line, not really matched up with Pekka, not to put all their talent in one basket really. But I think it's going to take him a year to get into that limelight of, okay, now I'm the #1 guy, or the people are going to want to be looking for. So I think this is the year he's going to have to get used to it, and then from there on out, we'll be able to find that consistency like we talked about.
Reagan, does size matter? He is pretty small.
Yes, size does matter, but it matters, in both ways, because being so small, he is so fast. It's so hard for the defense to, catch up with him and put a body on him. But also, because he's so small, it's hard for him in front of the net. He can get pushed around, and when you're pushed around from the net, you can't get those garbage goals that you need.
But, I mean, that's not exactly his role on team as well. He's not the type of guy you say, all right, go to the front of the net and try to get a screen and deflection. He's the type of guy say, go up on the wing and see if you can get it over the shoulder on the short side. And I think, as they might only be looking for someone like that, but I think if you put him in that role, he's definitely going to have a slump. He's not the type to go around the net and bang and rebounds. He's the type to shoot from the points and shoot right at the dots. And once you get to that, I mean, that's where you want him to flourish.
It'll be very interesting to see how Annis and the Bobcats, who were recently ranked 15th in the USCHO national poll. You two have provided some great insight tonight, but it seems that we are out of time. For more information, please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at QBSN. And don't forget to visit our website at theqbsn.com. For Regan Martin, Connor Fortier, and the whole crew, I'm Dylan Fearon. Have an excellent night.